John 19, verse 26 and 27. When Jesus saw his mother there and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to her, "Woman, here is your son." And to the disciple, "Here is your mother." From that time on, this disciple took her into his home. I want to tag this text with the title, Provision in the Midst of Pain. Provision in the midst of pain. On March 31st, 2019, the hip-hop community, and some would even argue the African-American community as a whole, endured a huge loss surrounding the death of 33-year-old rapper, entrepreneur, community activist Nipsey Hussle. News of his death sent a wave of pain, sorrow, and grief to thousands upon thousands of people across this country. Social media is still buzzing with expressions of pain and sorrow about the passing of Nipsey Hussle. It is evident that Mr. Nipsey must have touched many lives in this here nation, and this recent news about his sudden passing proves that in life, experiencing pain is inevitable. And as much as we don't like to experience pain, it is something that we cannot avoid. Even if we try to plan for the pain, when it comes, we're often not ready. And many of us have had our fair share of painful encounters in life. Physical pain, pain from a job loss, a failed relationship, a friend's mistreatment of you, miscarriage, death of a loved one. Maybe you've experienced pain and heartbreak, rejection, abandonment, pain from injustice, discrimination, sexism, racism. We all have been dealt with our fair share of pain, and regardless of where you find yourself, pain, if you're honest about it, has made its way of shaping you into who you are. I bet if I was to pass this mic around, but I don't have the time to do that, but if I was, someone would testify about the pain that sent you to hell and back, and without the keeping of God over your life and the provision of God in your life, you would have lost your mind a long time ago, or at very least, you would have laid them hands on somebody. Is that right? Yeah, y'all like me. Y'all like me. But God has a way of providing what you need in order to endure the painful moments in your life. And we see this here with Mary, the mother of Jesus near the cross, who is witnessing her firstborn die in the most horrific way. Those hands his mother used to hold as she helped him take his first steps and held him as they walked through their hometown. Those same hands are now nailed to a cross. Those same hands are dripping with blood. The forehead that she used to kiss his head at night as she would tuck him in for bed is now crowned with thorns, and with every strike against the body that she once received countless of hugs and warm embraces, she now feels a sting with every blow in her heart. And I wonder in this moment if Mary is realizing now what Simon meant a long time ago when he prophesied over her and said that a sword would pierce her own soul too. Because see, right now in this moment, her soul has been overcome with deep sadness, and her body has been given way by grief, and then her mind is starting to wrestle with worry. You see, in this moment, Jesus, he takes a minute and he focuses with sweaty, blood-stained eyes on his mother and his disciple whom he loved, his friend John. Out of all of his disciples, it's John who was there with him at the cross, the only one. It's so funny to me that when things are real high in your life, you got a lot of friends all around you, but the moment the bottom falls out, yeah, Yeah, the moment the bottom falls out, there's no friend to be found. But Jesus, he doesn't even trip on that. Jesus he takes time, he notices who is near the cross, but in the moment, above all the insults that's being hurled at him, despite who is not there, despite his own pain, he notices the pain of his mother and his dear friend. And he takes time to address them both. How painful must it have been for Jesus in this moment to address his loved ones? I'm not just talking emotional pain, literally pain in his body. His body is beaten, bruised, and broken. Imagine not only the torn skin, the exposed flesh, and the bruising on the outside of his body, but what's happening with those bruised organs and internal bleeding that's taking place? You see, in the human body, a fractured rib alone can make breathing quite painful. And he is literally dying on the cross. There's no hospice care, no palliative care, no medication to make him comfortable. So if breathing is painful in itself in this moment, imagine how much pain he is experiencing to utter words. And while he said few words, he spoke powerful words. Woman, here is your son. You see, Jesus wasn't being disrespectful here, Black Mama. He wasn't being disrespectful. What he was doing, he couldn't call her mom in this moment because Mary couldn't be mom in this moment. And I bet you she was wanting to be so desperately, but she couldn't be mom. And you see, calling her out by saying mom, mama, mommy, that would have added more agony to her pain already. And so maybe calling her woman was Jesus' way of not adding more pain to what she could already bear. Maybe he calls her woman because she has to now change the way she relates to him. You see, he needs her to continue to be the woman of faith that she already had been. And by faith, she needs to change the way she sees Jesus from being her son to now being her Savior. So he says to his mother, y'all calm down. I got 2 more minutes. He says to his mother, woman, here is your son. Jesus takes a moment in his own pain to take care of the one who took care of him throughout his earthly life. You see, he's honoring his mother by providing for her financially, relationally, emotionally, and spiritually. While dying on the cross, Jesus is speaking his final will and testament to not only his mother, but to his friend John. Woman, here's your son, he says to his mother. And then he turns to John and says, here is your mother. He appoints his disciple John, the one who already left everything to follow him, the one who's been down for him like 4 flat tires, the one who is still with him as he hangs on the cross. He appoints John to take care of Mary as John would care for his own mother. And he trusts that John could do it because the text says that from that point on, he took Mary into his house. So John basically took care of all her basic and financial needs. While dying on the cross, Jesus not only gave Mary, in the midst of her pain, financial provisions, but relational provisions. You see, she had other sons. Y'all know that, right? But they're not with her in this moment because they didn't believe who Jesus said that he was. As Jesus prepares to depart from Mary, he speaks this verbal agreement for John to be like a son to Mary. While John could never replace Jesus, the love that he already had for Jesus would be displayed in the way that he loves Mary like he loves his own mama. Mary would feel a piece of her son through the way John would love her, and therefore the relationship is there. And lastly, while dying on the cross, through the midst of Mary's pain, Jesus gives emotional and spiritual provisions. This new covenant with John helps to ease some of Mary's grief and worry. This new covenant with John will eventually make a way for a new community with fellow believers for both of them. soon being able to see her son as Savior, I could just imagine that Mary's faith is now strengthened as she will reflect back on all the pain that she experienced on this earth, and she starts to realize that it was only temporary, that her son not only came to bring redemption for her, but for all of mankind. See, she will see that God can use her pain for her purpose, and that in the midst of her pain, God will continue to provide provision. So now, if God, wrapped up in human flesh as the Son of God, can provide in his moment of pain, how much more can God provide for us in his present power as Savior? I don't know about you, but I thank God for his power. I thank God that he decided to stay on that cross and die for me. I thank God for his saving power, his healing power, his delivering power. I thank God for his power, the power that he has to provide for me in the midst of pain. Somebody give God a hand clap of praise.